You could not script it any better. And people say that a lot. You couldn't script it. You can't make this stuff up. You literally could not write a more dramatic, more beautiful story for Pete Alonso and the New York Mets. It gives me goosebumps even now thinking about it. I cannot believe they did it again. And this time, finally, BT, Pete delivered. Yeah!
Dude, this was insanity last night. I mean, and this is why we watch, and this is why we invest what we invest emotionally and certainly monetarily. Think about the flippant emotions from when Pete dropped the pop-up. And there's that Brewer fan that you can see behind, like, really going deep and just almost. I felt so badly for Pete at that point.
Yeah.
And, you're a pro, you make money, but that's like, I'm like, this guy he's done. He's shot, he's fried, it is over. I don't know how he possibly regenerates here. But baseball being the sport that it is, you can't hide. Mendoza didn't have it a 5-hole. Bumped him up to the 4 spot. And after that pop-up and after all the things that he has been through and all the empty at-bats really for the last month or so, he hits an all-time shot, and the Metsville goes absolutely bonkers.
Insane. It was the greatest win that I have ever endured as a fan. I was thinking a lot about this last night as it happened. And we talked about it with the Lindor home run the other day and how great of a moment that was. This trumps it all. That was no doubt the biggest home run. And I've been at plenty of games, whether it's Todd Pratt or Benny Agbayani. We've referenced all the Mike Piazza moments that he's provided. There were none, at least in my lifetime, that compared to what Pete Alonso did last night when you take everything into account. The circumstance of the game, Mets haven't gotten a hit basically all night long, down to the 9th inning, down to their final few outs. Lindor, tremendous at bat. Obviously, Nimmo, a big hit as well. Setting the stage for a guy who we've been waiting for that exact thing all year long. Whether it's the game you and I were at recently, Friday night against the Phillies, bases loaded, crowd on their feet, trying to will Pete to get a big hit. Obviously before that as well, but as we start to go down the stretch, whether it's against Atlanta, whether it's the other night in the first inning, anytime Pete has come up with guys on, and there have been a bunch of times that has been the case, we've been waiting for this. And we did deep down have some hope because we've seen him do it before. We talked about this, you and I, yesterday. It's not like he never hit a big home run. This year, though, as the moments got bigger, Pete got smaller, and then there is no bigger moment. That's it. Met career on the line. Season on the line. Pete comes up needing, it gives me goosebumps, comes up needing to do exactly what he did. He knew he got it at the moment. Oh, my God. That is just what we live for and dream about as sports fans. And I'm going to say something, BT. I could not be happier for Pete Alonso himself, because you're right. You started to feel bad because it just got so bad. You know he wanted it so bad. Mm-hmm. And he finally, and he said it in the postgame, finally was able to have his presence and his impact felt on this winning team.
And he did it against a stud. I mean, he is not an easy pitcher to hit. Yeah, I mean, I think too often when we do what we do, even though we try to incorporate sensitivity, and we try to, understand that they're not robots, even though sometimes we treat them like robots. But they're big boys making big money, and sometimes, feelings get pushed aside. It was impossible. I don't care if you're the most devout Yankee fan who hates the Mets, if you're the biggest Met fan in the world, if you're just a sports fan or a New York sport observer, how you couldn't feel absolutely awesome for Pete Alonso. He has comported himself the right way. And listen, Ray Knight hits big home runs back in the day. He wasn't drafted by the Mets. Ray played for a couple teams. Mike Piazza, all-time Met. He wasn't drafted by the Mets. Like, this one feels different because it is different. Because the story, the start, the journey, the conversations, now you have the Philadelphia Phillies, man. You guys now, I mean, I'm so happy for you guys. I really am.
Think about this. If Mark Vientos or Brandon Nimmo or whoever hit that home run, right? Let's say the stage was set for Nimmo with 2 guys on and he hits that home run. It would have been incredible. It would have been huge.
Yep.
But the fact that Pete did it after all that he's gone through, all the talk, down to what might have been, what could have been his last at-bat, not only of the year, but for the New York Mets. That's been the big storyline all year long. Like, this was finally it. All the chances that we thought, all right, come on, Pete, now he's going to do it. No, now he'll get going. Now he'll get going. All year long, every step of the way. This was it. There was no more tomorrow. There was no more next series or next at bat. That was it. He waited till the last minute and delivered the biggest hit potentially in franchise. Like, outside of winning the World Series in 69, which I wasn't born for, and 86, which I was 7 years old for, and obviously those were great moments, and people who lived through that, and even if you didn't live through that, you know how important those moments were. But in my lifetime, that is the biggest win and biggest moment that I've ever seen when all things factor.
How'd you go to sleep after the game? Honestly, how do you guys sleep after that?
I didn't. I was so amped up. Even my wife, now I woke her up yelling and screaming.
Yeah, we saw the video.
I usually don't do that anymore. But, I mean, that's it. You were waiting for that's why we love sports. I mean, this is why all the pain that we endure as sports fans, moments like that last night would make it all worthwhile. All the aggravation, all the yelling and screaming, all the frustration, all the losing that you've endured for years and years and years. That moment is what makes things sweet to be a sports fan. And I just got caught up in it, going nuts, and my wife, stop! You're gonna wake the baby up. I didn't care. I was yelling and screaming. Yeah. You don't understand what just happened here. Good God, to have that release. So that's why, and that's for us as sports fans. Imagine for Pete himself.
Yeah, and the other thing too, you have to think about the flow of the game before Pete's home run. It's not like not that it would have taken away from the moment, but if it was like a 5-4 game and there were other pockets of excitement, Met fans and Brewers fans sat there for 2 hours with not a single run crossing the plate. I mean, anytime, and they didn't have many bases. Quintana was phenomenal.
Yep.
He was absolutely awesome. Obviously, Budo got touched up. Diaz didn't have a ton, and then Peterson comes out. We'll get to all these things here, but like anytime somebody's on base and there's a pop-up and you're like, oh, that's the third out, thank God. Oh, God, there's a tapper back to the mound. All right, third out, thank God. Like the ebb and flow of emotion was just amazing, man. And the Brewer fans were awesome, and then they were so deathly quiet. And I'll tell you, like even more so than Pete's pop-up that he dropped, when they had the double steal, because you're sitting out there, at least what I'm saying, I was like, all right, they're losing now. They just had a double steal. Diaz is just about shot. Doesn't even have his great stuff. I mean, he couldn't even find the strike zone. No throw on the double steal. It felt like the end. It felt like the end, and you're holding out hope. Come on, get somebody on base. Beautiful at bat there by Lindor. Yep. The check swing, clearly a check swing, not even close. But that, I'll tell you, Williams is absolutely filthy with that fastball and that changeup to keep those hands back and to just push the baton down the road and get on base. Just insane. Just an absolutely awesome New York baseball night.
And you touched on what I think is the most important thing that came from yesterday. I mean, obviously, I know Pete and the results, but Pete was put in that spot by his manager.
Yeah.
And we debated yesterday, and obviously the frustrations get to a point where it's like, just get him out of the lineup. And that's not realistic. They were never going to do that. But I did think that, all right, maybe they may move him down the lineup. It never crossed my mind to move him up to the cleanup spot.
No, I said drop him to 6.
Right. We were talking about drop him down, out, whatever.
Yeah.
But Mendoza, who showed belief in Pete, even just the other day, saying, like, I think he's got a big hit in him. This was the one, okay, this is the ultimate game. This is the last game. Here you go, big boy. You're a cleanup hitter. Go get the job done. So Mendoza, and Pete probably would have been a guy, and we talked about this, like, hey, what good would dropping him to 7th do? Like, how do you think that would work on his psyche? And Pete's a guy who maybe needed a little bit of a boost.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not going to be dropped down. I'm moving you up because I believe in you. And maybe that helped, and it certainly helped where he came up in the lineup, because if he wasn't hitting 4th, he wouldn't be up in that big spot. And he came up and delivered, so you got to give Mendoza credit as well. Just an incredible all-time moment. For the second time in a week, the New York Mets made history. Just an unbelievable happening last night with Alonso going deep.
Listen, the Mets historically haven't given you too many moments, but when they give you a moment, they don't mess around. Like, they give you a moment, whether it's the 86 series with the Astros or, of course, with the Red Sox. I mean, when they give you something, the Mets dial it up special, and last night was as special as it gets, man. Let's go. This is awesome.
BT and Sal on the Fan of Friends at Town Fair Tire. Remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires. From Connecticut to Maine, nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. John is in Bergen County. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I
Great.
have a few things here. Big bit night in my household, John's household. Every TV was on. I was about to go to bed. I said to my kids, this reminds me of 1994 when me and my wife were laying in bed and the Rangers won, and how we whoever made the call. And I said to my kids, I said, I'm going to lay down. Top of the ninth inning, I said, you know what? Hopefully it's like 94 all over again. We all met out in the living room after that home run. The greatest $200 million man. Not Mr. Number 20, Mr. $200 million man.
Yeah, well, there you go, John. And thank you for the call.
Oh, my
and
God.
We'll get to that and what this means for Pete moving forward. But, I mean, you could not draw it up. The one thing this team has done all year long, and again, they did it, they've been resilient. And just when you think it's over, just when their back is against the wall, not like almost back against the wall, that's it. This is the end.
Yep.
And Atlanta, same thing. This is it. This is the end of the game. And they come back and do it. Just when you expect it finally. When you resign, like you'll have hope, you'll have belief all the way, and then it's like, all right. And maybe they just don't have enough or whatever. That's when this team kicks it into gear, and that's what they did last night. You could not draw it up any better.
No, you really couldn't. I mean, we've said it a million times, and the show's only 13 minutes old because you almost already run out of things to say because it was so improbable and it was so unlikely, at least the way the season was going. Listen, you guys, I know that you're all just inhaling video after video, and Howie's call is amazing, and obviously all the things that you guys are doing today. When you get a chance, okay, make sure you find it from the Mets verified account. You guys didn't even see this. I told you guys about this. Well, you saw it. Hoff didn't see it. The Mets verified account, when they get on the team charter last night after the game and they're coming back to get ready for Philly, they play Howie's call on the airplane, okay? And, you know, you're probably like me. Like, I hate hearing my own voice. I can only imagine if I'm a play-by-play man. So he actually puts his hands over his ears. The whole plane's listening to his call. They got a jacked-up volume. And then he walks back, and he gives Pete a big hug. It is awesome. Howie's call was money, and that moment was fantastic.
Larry is calling from Westchester. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Sal, BT, how you guys
What's
doing?
up, buddy?
Good. What's up, Larry?
Listen, guys, I'm 67 years old. Been a Mets fan for 60 years. That was the biggest home run in franchise history. I've seen it all. Never saw anything like that. As a matter of fact, that's probably one of the top 3 home runs of all time in the playoffs, right behind Joe Carter's walk-off and Bucky Dent's home run in 78. It was just a beautiful thing to see.
Well, they would say it was, Larry, and thank you for the call. They were saying, I forget the exact, I'm pretty sure it was that a home run has never been hit in the postseason that late in a game in a clinching game.
Correct.
To give a team the lead.
Correct. He's the first one in the history of baseball.
First one in the history of baseball to hit a home run to give his team the lead. And was it the 7th inning or later?
I don't know if it was.
Exact
I don't know
thing,
if it was the 7th. Actually, I didn't see that part of the stat.
Anyway, whatever it was, but
Yeah.
first one in the history of baseball.
Isn't that amazing?
To give his team the lead that late in the game in an elimination game.
Ugh.
I mean, so when we watch it and say, "Oh my God, I've never seen anything like that before," yeah, it hasn't happened. The only things that it reminded me of when I started to think about, okay, the greatest moments that I've seen as a sports fan. Now, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I did think of the Brocious home run in 2001 off Byung-Hyun Kim. Obviously, Tino, same thing. Like, those home runs were out of nowhere, incredible, you know, those. And then the game that I thought about, and obviously it's a different sport and a different field, but the Allen Houston Game 5 jumper.
Off the front rim, it.
Yeah, so that one was a great moment. This, I think, beats it. For me, so as a sports fan, you know, growing up rooting for the teams that I rooted for, I don't think I've seen a more impactful moment than that, and a better win than what Pete Alonso and the Mets did last night.
Sal, it's up there, and now think about this, and then this is probably more for a little later in the show, but just let this marinate, because I know on some level you already started to do this. So part of the reason why, you know, Pete was in this ridiculous funk is he was in his own head.
Yeah.
And in baseball, you spiral out of control. You actually do worse the harder you try. And he was feeling it. He was wearing it. And he was awful. Well, guess what? That heaviness is gone. And I know you guys are still celebrating the Brewers here, but if you want to start, and you are, dreaming bigger now, and you get a freed up, relaxed, locked in the zone Pete Alonso for the next couple of weeks of the baseball season, who knows where this thing could go for the Mets, dude?
You feel like Pete is unlocked after last night. Bill is in Babylon. What's up, Bill?
What's up, boys?
Hey,
I'm
Bill.
still on a high from last night's game, man. I was at Citi Field for this watch party. What an incredible experience. I brought my son. The atmosphere when he hit that home run at Citi Field was intense.
I saw the video.
Well, it was unbelievable. It was probably one of the best sporting experiences I had, and the game wasn't even happening in front of us. We're all watching it on the big screen in center field.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unbelievable experience. It was crazy that the Mets couldn't get a hit besides Lindor through the first 8 innings, but you know what? You got to believe that 9th inning comeback is probably going to be one of the best games in Mets history.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, and thank you for the call, Bill. This team, as you said before, BT, they haven't had many successful seasons or World Series trophies, but they've had some improbable, incredible runs, starting with 1969. Obviously, the way they won in '86 in Game 6, we know all about that. This is right up there. I know it didn't result in a World Series win, but as far as the improbable nature of what happened last night, you're frustrated. You're watching that game. You want something to get going offensively. They couldn't do it all damn night long. The 2 home runs by Budo, the place is going nuts. You're feeling like it's over, even though you still have hope, and at maybe the top of the order give you one last chance. Odds are, you're in a rough spot, and to do it the way that they did it, oh my God, that is just what we live for as sports fans. An incredible moment, historic. We're talking history here. And it is a privilege to be able to come on the airwaves and talk about it. Like, that's how huge that moment is. I love being able to talk about this and share this joy with everybody who experienced that last night.
How were you feeling when it was 0-0? Say 5th inning.
I felt good. Actually,
You felt good?
I'll tell you the truth. I bet and I don't do this.
A little real-time bet?
I did.
Ooh.
7th inning. 7th inning, I was just like, I think they're going to win. And then naturally, the 2 home runs followed, like not too long after that, and I was like, "Jeez, here we go." But I did a little live bet there.
You did?
Yeah, I
did.
Because the odds were going up in favor of the Mets. Like, they started at -105 or something, then I went up to like +110. I was like, you know what? They're not going to lose this game. Like, my gut was telling me that we're going to figure out a way. Because Milwaukee kept missing opportunities, too.
100%.
So once you see that from the home team, yeah, I think the Mets are going to win this game. So, yeah, I did a little live bet. So I was feeling pretty good until, of course.
Yeah, the home runs. And, of course, Bauer coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 scrubs. Bauer, and Frelick's not a scrub necessarily.
No, he's not. He's not.
To have those bombs, it's like, oh, that was a gut punch, clearly, right there.
It's amazing, too, because Lindor's his 2 hits were he really had good swings all night. Nobody else looked even remotely, competent at the plate. So, and really, even the first play of the game, I mean, if not that it equated to a run anyway, because he was stranded, but, I mean, he hits the double. Yep. He's out by 5 feet at second base. So you hold on to the ball. It's just, I cannot believe. Well, I can. I mean, I say that I can't, but I can, but I can't. And I go back and forth. I don't know if I can or I can't. I still don't know. I still can't believe that he did what he did when he did it after what's transpired this entire season.
Plenty more reaction when we come back all day long. We're working some football picks as well. Look ahead to the Jets and Giants this Sunday. You get the Yankees getting underway tomorrow. Mets and Yankees. Postseason baseball this weekend. It doesn't get any better than this. Keep it locked to the fan. We got Yankees tickets to give away.
Yes, we do.
As well, a lot to do. Just getting started. BT and Sal on the Fan.